Devil fruits are the cornerstone of the One Piece world. The powers imbued by them are a huge part of what makes the series so interesting and fun to read. For the most part, there is no devil fruit power that I simply wouldn't want. Devil fruits are cool, but in every group of things there must exist a worst. And I found them. Criteria used to determine the worst is fairly simple. 1. They need to be canon. Otherwise, this list would just be filled with fruits from filler arcs and movies. Secondly, they can't be artificial, like the ones mass-produced by Doflamingo. And finally, they will be analysed by the effect that they have on an everyday person, because as we know, some characters use terrible devil fruits amazingly, while others use phenomenal fruits horrendously. So we're using a third-party system in this list. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Top 5 Worst Devil Fruits. Number 5. Rounding out the best of the worst, we have the Sube Sube no Mi, also known as the Slip Slip fruit in English. This fruit was consumed by the very first antagonist Luffy meets on his journey, Captain Alvida. The Sube Sube no Mi is a paramecia type that makes the user's body super slippery, so much so that all basic attacks literally just slip off you. A punch, no effect. A sword, that'll slip right off your skin, as will a bullet. So while this fruit can render you almost literally untouchable, any experienced combatant can find a way around this power. There's also no evidence to show that the user can control the degree of slipperiness applied to them at any given time. So sort of like how Luffy's body just became rubber after eating his fruit, Alvida's body just became slippery. So consuming this fruit would have a sort of reverse Midas touch effect on a person. You would never really be able to touch anything without it slipping right off you. So imagine if you had to go down the street to pick up some groceries. The entire journey would be like running on wet tiles with oil on your feet. So while this fruit grants the user basic immunity, it comes with pretty heavily restricted mobility. Now the character Alvida managed to find a way around this by having people raise a ramp for her to slide off and accelerate her movement. But the fact that something that complex has to be required to make the most of your power sends it flying right to the bottom of the devil fruit hierarchy. Now it does have another useful ability actually. The Sube Sube no Mi is a weight loss miracle, as it allows excess fat to simply slip off the body. And yes, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Or does it? No. At least not in English. In Japanese, it makes perfect sense, as Sube Sube can also mean young and sexy. It's a pun fruit, and a pun that could legitimately help a lot of people if consumed. So you know what? The Sube Sube no Mi isn't so bad. It has its pluses, and it has its minuses. All in all, I definitely wouldn't be upset to have its powers. I would just prefer literally any other of the abilities in the series, well, apart from the 4 that we're about to go through. Number 4. Coming in at number 4, we have the Jake Jake no Mi, eaten by Coliseum fighter Kelly Funk. Now this fruit gives the user the ability to become a jacket. Yes, eating this fruit turns you into an item of clothing. Once the user has become said jacket, he or she can then be worn by another person and gain their abilities, which in theory should increase the strength of the person wearing you. While in jacket form, the user of the fruit is still able to talk and move to some degree, but the combat emphasis is very much placed on whoever is wearing you. And that's a problem. A big problem. This devil fruit essentially turns you into a support item for someone else. The user on their own is powerless in jacket form. Furthermore, the strength of the fruit is tied directly to the base strength of its user. If the jacket person isn't particularly strong, then the wearer of the jacket will see little benefit after they become garbed. Now there are obviously some extreme situations where this fruit would just be amazing, but it's mainly down to the individuals who would be using it. I mean, for example, if Whitebeard had the Jake Jake no Mi and was worn by Kaido, then that would undoubtedly form the strongest being ever seen in the One Piece universe. Unfortunately, for the Jake Jake no Mi, the everyday person doesn't have so much use for becoming a jacket. However, if the right pair did team up, then at least this fruit gives you some benefit, unlike number 3. Kinemon's unusual devil fruit. At the moment, this fruit has no official name or detailed explanation of its powers, but it essentially gives the user the ability to create clothes. Now that sounds pretty cool to the everyday person, doesn't it? Imagine never having to spend money on clothes. If you see a shirt in a shop, you can just create one yourself. Furthermore, the user can create anything they can visualize, so in the hands of an experienced designer, this could be a revolutionary ability for the fashion world. Or it would be. Except that as soon as somebody takes off the clothes created by this ability, its power is dispelled and the clothes vanish into thin air. So this devil fruit could have been really useful. Like really, really useful. But it isn't. It also doesn't grant the user any kind of enhanced physical ability. The closest you could probably come is by creating your own armor to wear, but that's pretty pathetic in the grand scheme of devil fruits. It's pretty much another support type of devil fruit, but unlike the Jake Jake no Mi, it has no potential to increase anybody's strength. The fruit just gives you nice clothes to wear. That is, if the user can visualize nice clothes. I will say that despite this, the fruit has great comedic value. Kinemon often uses it to construct creative disguises and even managed to successfully impersonate Don Quixote Doflamingo in Dressrosa. And that comedic value alone is enough to keep it afloat at the number 3 spot. Number 2! The Bug Zoans. Sometimes One Piece has things that just make me sigh, and these fruits are definitely one of those moments. Yes, I know it may technically be cheating to have 2 fruits in one spot, but honestly they're just as horrible as each other. These fruits are Zoan types that allow the user to become an insect. So far we've seen a rhinoceros beetle type as well as a hornet type. The main advantages of these fruits is that, you acquire the power of whatever insect type you've ingested. And that's it. In the series, these fruits are eaten rather appropriately by members of the Tontada tribe, tiny dwarf fairy people who live around Dressrosa. So the insect fruits probably enhance their abilities, slightly, I think. I don't know. I think a lot of their strength is down to the Tontada users themselves being fairly strong as they are. I'm probably being a bit harsh on these fruits. I mean, both of the examples I've shown so far do give the users wings and a second pair of arms. The hornet fruit also gives the user the power to control other hornets, so it does have its uses, just in the grand scheme of things, they suck. It's pretty hard to tell how they would scale to regular people, since the Tontada's size very much suit the size of the insects. But Zoan types tend to have similar sizes to the animals they mimic, so I can only imagine consuming one of these fruits would have a sort of ant-like effect on a normal person, just without the super strength or super speed, which is really the only thing that makes Ant-Man viable. So yeah, these fruits are bad, but they have an effect, which is what separates them from our number 1. And most people probably saw this coming. It's the Hito Hito no Mi eaten by the Doctor of the Straw Hat Pirates, Tony Chopper. In English, this translates to the human fruit, a Zoan type that grants the user the ability to become a human. Now this fruit is probably very useful when eaten by a reindeer or anything that isn't human. However, if the average person ate this fruit, they would gain no extra abilities whatsoever, although they would inherit all of the weaknesses of the devil fruit, that being losing the ability to swim. So I think this one's fairly cut and dry. At least the first 4 in this list granted something, whereas a person eating this fruit incurs a net loss. So I'm sorry Hito Hito no Mi, but by the rules of this list, you are by far the worst devil fruit.